And I'll simply say that, yeah, we're recording. I'm Jeff Altman, professionally known as the Big Game Hunter. I am a headhunter. And I've been recruiting for more than 40 years, filled over 1,200 positions plus consulting assignments. If you have an iPhone in iTunes or listen on Stitcher, I host a show called Job Search Radio, which has about 6,000 listeners per week. And it's a great little show where I do a 30-minute interview weekly about job hunting. I'm kind of playing with Blab.im now as a way of learning how I can do it to communicate more with job hunters, answer people's questions, help people find work, also talk about jobs I'm recruiting for. So if someone has a question about job hunting, I'd be happy to open up a seat for you. Let me know if you'd like to ask me something. Otherwise, I'll talk about some of the jobs I'm recruiting for, put you to sleep for a minute, unless you're in cybersecurity, and then talk about some of the, answer some of your questions. I've started off in technology recruiting, Jim Bob, for 1972, so it feels like 100 years, but these days I'm focusing more on cyber. It doesn't mean I don't have other jobs, doesn't mean I don't know how to answer other questions. If you go to YouTube and look for me, which the channel is the Big Game Hunter TV, you'll find there are 1,300 plus videos I've done about job search and hiring and a whole bunch of other stuff. But the emphasis is on job search and hiring, where I talk about different aspects of job search, whether it's great resumes, marketing yourself, networking, for employers, some of the dumb things that they do, stupid interview mistakes, how to be a more effective networker, stuff along those lines. So, I can answer a lot of different things, even though my specialty right now is in cyber. Over 40 plus years, I've filled tons of technology positions. And one of my favorite things is that I filled this one job many years ago for the guy who buys hardwood that's used to age Jack Daniels in. So when they age it in the caskets, that's the guy that buys the wood for it. And I found it for Brown and Williamson. I'm sorry, Brown and Foreman. Brown and Williamson's the tobacco company. So I'll simply say that if you have a question, I'd love to invite you in. At the Big Game Hunter. Well, I'll tell you, I'll invite you in. Welcome in, and let's see now. And come on down. You're the next contestant.
Hey, how are you doing?
Let's see. Howdy, how are you, sir?
I'm great. How are you doing? I think you were talking about jobs that you generally recruit for, and I think I'm more in the media and marketing field, business development, partnership type stuff. But I'm curious because my background is I just wrapped up my MBA at Fordham, but I've built a media company for the last year or so, and I also have a podcast on cross-cultural development and cross-cultural management, and I have about 40 writers that I've been working with, and then the podcast is about 6,000 a month. And then podcast is called As Told by Noads, by the way. And I'm just curious because I've built this skill set where I've been producing a lot of content, whether it's from multimedia facets, whether it's videos, podcasting, and written. And I just want to know different ways I can leverage that to a company. That might be, could be, for example, like a Huffington Post or another type of company where they would use my expertise as a content manager or content VP of content, whatever, to be able to manage that.
Are you looking to remain independent or do it as an employee of theirs?
No, I think, that's what I've been kind of struggling because the past year or so, what I've done with the podcast, which is sort of unintentional. When you're getting your MBA, you look for things to do, and then it sort of happens. I've been a year on the podcast, but I started speaking. I started getting invited to speak at conferences. So the World Bank asked me to speak to some intercultural people, and I've spoken to 3 so far. I'm speaking to 1 there, and I started to think maybe going the personal route might be a good way. But something else that would intrigue me would be like an entrepreneurship type of thing where I could come and take over a company. I got a frog in my throat. I'm coming down with something cold, but come down and headlight content, or maybe find something related to what I'm doing. Since I've been able to, I have digital media as my focus. I've been able to build relationships over there, and I can build. I have a team of writers already, and I have a team of people that help with podcasts, and I just wanted to be able to maybe benefit from an existing infrastructure, but also maybe do my own thing as well.
So it also begs a couple of follow-up questions. And folks, if you have input, I'd be happy to invite you into a seat. Just let me know, because I'm happy to take advice from people. I'm sure Tayo is as well. By the way, I'm a Fordham alum myself.
Fordham, go Rams.
I didn't do the business program. I was an MSW there. So,
hey, once a Fordham guy, always a Fordham guy.
So I'll simply say that there are a couple of things that you can do, but it sounds like you're best off served as remaining independent and doing more things to market yourself. So the next thing is, who's your target audience? Who do you try to sell to? If you were, I know you know these terms, if you were defining your avatar for marketing your service, who is it? Is it an individual where you're the staff writer behind the scenes for a successful person who doesn't have the time? Is it a business?
I think it might be more businesses and schools like universities. So international students could be one, multinational companies. Where my background is I'm Nigerian. I grew up as a diplomatic kid, so I grew up in 5 countries and 4 continents. So the premise of the show is Still by Nomads. I bring on people from different walks of life, and we talk about culture, how that applies to being in the workplace, and also international business, stuff like that.
Cool.
But so the premise is building culturally aware leaders, and a lot of the stories, like that I reach out to. The podcast is heard in 109 countries, and the media platform itself is also in as many countries. And it's interesting what happens when you act as you become the accidental editor in chief, essentially, and publisher, because you start doing something out of a hobby. So I think it might be companies and businesses, or fields where people are constantly moving, and they need like a consultant sort of, or someone to speak to several millennials in that range, because I'm also a millennial myself, and talk about how to translate those experiences into success.
And how do you monetize your service? And folks, give this man some love. He's sharing a whole bunch of stuff. Give him some hands, please.
Sorry, I apologize about it. I have a cold, so I have like a frog.
I came off of 2 weeks of having, I'm not sure if it was an allergy or I picked up a bug from my wife and son who were in England for 2 weeks and came back with something, but no problem at all. Yeah, a lot of love for this man.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, my accent, it changes all the time, so I really couldn't tell you where it's from. It just comes up all the time. I saw that question. But, it's like that. So I'm at that dilemma where, you can do something on your own, and then monetizing. I've been, you get sponsorship on podcasts, right? You can advertise a space on the website. And those have been pretty much it. I've been speaking for free for the meantime. I want to build my speaking, I guess, resume up to the point where I can command. But it's advertising and sponsorship, pretty much.
Where do you practice your public speaking?
Wow. I'm one of those raw ones, because I initially in the beginning of the year, I had a goal to speak at a few conferences, and I sort of submitted, and then I started getting accepted, and I was like, just go. So I practiced by myself, really. And then, I haven't like gone any formal Toastmakers or any of that, but I have Toastmasters rather. But
that's what I was going to suggest to you. I'm a longtime Toastmasters member, and I'll simply say that, are you still in New York?
Yes, I'm still in the Big Apple.
There's a club that meets in Midtown Manhattan called the SEC Rough Riders. Memory says Wednesday at 12, but I'm sure you can find the website for them. Best club in New York. And I'll simply say one of the Toastmasters advantages is the opportunity to speak extemporaneously, because there's this process called table topics, where they will call on you to speak about a topic. And I'll give you an example of how it might work. Someone is the topics master for that particular meeting, and someone will say, we'll start off by saying, it's the end of summer. It's a wonderful time. Weather's still nice. New Yorkers go out to the beach still. It is a wonderful time for concerts. How have you spent your time, Tayo? And that's the first time you know you're going to speak.
Wow. So it's like a yes and type of thing, improv, right? Yeah.
1 to 2 minutes. That's all you have to do. Okay. And that becomes one way that you practice. And then is the second way where you start doing formal speeches. Now, the first one is called an icebreaker. And you have a chance to talk about anything that you want to talk about. And then from there, they go into progressively, I don't want to say longer speeches, but different speeches. And it becomes a way that you can practice your craft. It's a nice opportunity for you, but that's a sidebar on your public speaking. And you were initially asking about how do you build the opportunities to work with all this content that you create and repurpose it. Have you written a book yet? Is there a general theme? Is there a general theme to your content?
Yes, the general theme is it's focused on cross-culture management, global leadership. Those are generally the themes. A book has been floated in mind, but it's sometimes you have that dilemma there where you produce all this content, but you have to pay the bills, and New York City is pretty expensive, and it's one of those you got to find a way of sustainable income. But I guess building that personal brand is something that I've been putting time into. But what I wanted to ask you is, do you think that's the best route, or do you think I could sort of leverage that personal brand to help other companies?
You can leverage, but again, I only know a limited bit about you. At the end of the day, there's a lot that you can be doing with an organization behind you. Again, I don't know how much you pay people. If you don't pay them much,
that's the thing. I've been able to do this based on people just following my passion. And what I always do is I haven't paid anyone anything. We've leveraged each other. I know it's and that's been the most amazing thing for me, because I say, hey, look, I would give you this chance to do your platform. I'm always honest. Like, look, I'm bootstrapping quickly. I have no platform board. I have about 40 to 50 people willing to write regularly, and I'm amazed by that. But I'm like, what do you do from there? Because I want to be able to leverage their brands as well. Because what I usually do is like, hey, you already have this platform. It's related to what I'm doing. You have more of an audience here. You take all the credit. Originally point there, well, like Huffington Post does, but just content, that type of thing. So.
Gotcha. So here's a couple of ideas. One is you guys can be an outsourcing destination for others who care about this topic. My assumption is that you have a website already built.
Yes.
And you could be putting content galore on this site, keyword optimize it, AdSense it, and draw in some money in that way. Again, what you want to be doing is developing a reputation as an expert in this space. And I know you know that already. But you can be promoting yourself, and one of my favorite places is on the LinkedIn Publisher platform, where there's a way that you can put out articles. I do them weekly now. In my case, I do a weekly article for employers to talk about something that they do from a staffing standpoint that I think they need to wake up to. And it's helped to build my brand tremendously with firms, so that this way they have an opportunity to have someone who calls attention to them and gives them some ideas. Because one thing I found that businesses don't have is an audience, is someone who they can trust, who confronts them on their mistakes.
Okay. Oh, wow. You guys have been so helpful. It's interesting because, like you said, he said I have a gold mine, and sometimes I'm spending a lot of time, and I haven't really thought of it that way, because I think I got to get these guys I'm listening to people's themes. I got to get them, make sure their stories are out there. And I never really think about it from my point of view and how I can leverage that. I've only started to think about it now. But yeah, LinkedIn Publisher is one way. I started to, obviously Blab is another way. I think live streaming is going to be one of the best ways to build personal brands. But I think with what you're saying, my personal brand, I'm becoming an expert. I'm a Huffington Post contributor already. Ariana gave me that access, luckily, because I emailed her and she responded. I was like, this is what I've done. So do you think going that route, like being more contributors? Okay.
Absolutely. Absolutely. At the end of the day, whether this idea works for you or something else works for you, you've got to venture out of the small cocoon that you build for yourself and do things to project bigger.
Okay.
And by doing that, more opportunities are going to come your way. The more you put yourself out there and you are the brand, the more you put yourself out there and have people supporting you behind you, the bigger that you can become and the more you can earn from it.
Okay. And you have the big game hunter. The mission statement for my platform is use your difference to make a difference from different parts of the cultures. Yeah. So I use that's
fabulous.
And then I usually describe myself as a cultural connector. So using that sort of reference, I guess, would make a lot of sense. And people give Jeff some love. He's been giving some advice.
Finally, I got a little love.
Get Jeff love. Let's get him up to past 100.
I've been working hard at this. and Tayo, the thing I want to remind you of, because in the U.S., we tend to think short term. Think the long game. 5 years from now, where do you want to be? What steps do you think you need to take so that 5 years from now, either you're there or you're a lot closer to being there?
Well, I mean, 5 years from now, I want to have been able to have enough of I always say basically the mail Oprah, essentially, for my world, where you have a multi-platform that really shows how people can. I'm producing content that shows how you can be culturally aware and use that to build a culturally aware leadership. My premise is that in order to build the next set of global leaders, one truly has to know how to communicate across cultures and think outside the box. So I produce content based on that from different parts of the world where people raise awareness, and I want to be able to produce courses, want to be able to be doing shows like this, taking a podcast to a different level, as well as having like a media platform where I can pay people.
And here's a fun one for you, because you mentioned courses. Have you thought about going to Udemy and doing a course?
I have thought about it. There's another one called it escapes me. It's like Udemy, but I actually developed I spent the first half of this year developing a course for international students fitted into the United States, and I've produced it. But I couldn't figure out a way to monetize it. I figured out I put it out there. I did a whole launch for it, and then it completely. This is part of your entrepreneurship journey. It bombed initially. It bombed. It was like, no one really signed up because I couldn't really. I think I was marketing it for individuals instead of really going to like the target market. Like I think international schools would benefit from that. I think moving, I don't know, embassies and stuff like that.
So I think of the UN and the UN school there. It's a place for you to market to.
Okay. Yeah. No. But courses, I think it's something I want to do. A book, like you said, is something I want to do. I'm definitely getting into more speaking. I'm speaking next week in Jersey on diversity in media, because I'm starting to become more known for this cultural thing and using that to build presence. But it's like everyone is saying here, I think sometimes I fail to recognize what I'm doing, and I have like blinders. I just go into producing content, and I never really know what to leverage. And when then I get to a point like I need to figure out a way to make a living out of this, because
right. And one of the ways that you can make a living out of it, Tayo, is think about corporate HR and the opportunities around diversity training in corporate HR, where people, and again, when I think of what U.S. corporations contend with, what European and African corporations contend with, it is heterogeneous populations and employers who try to find people. This is a pet peeve of mine. Employers try to find people who fit.
Yeah.
And you have a hiring manager who has no clue how to evaluate for real fit.
Right.
So they wind up seeing, and I'll use myself as an example, they see an old white guy and they've got a bunch of 25-year-olds in their organization, and how's this old white guy going to wind up fitting? Now, obviously, put yourself in different parts of the southern United States, and a young African-American man walks in, and they wonder, is this guy going to be difficult?
Yeah,
All this cross-cultural stuff. But, from a corporate HR perspective, corporate HR understands the importance of teaching within their organization about diverse populations and diverse cultures. And whether it's black and white, or these days we have to add people from Asia in the cultural mix, and Asian and African American sometimes is complicated as well. So you go on, and your training and your interests can really work out very nicely marketing a coaching program for corporate HR. And you got to build a reputation.
What would be the best way to reach out to them, though?
You start with a reputation. They have to start finding you. And I think of organizations like SHRM, SHRM, Society of Human Resource Management.
Oh, okay. SHRM. I know them.
And start reaching into the organization and participating. Start showing up at conferences. But the big thing is, while you're doing that, start thinking in terms of training that you can offer them. How you'd put it together as a one-day workshop, a weekend workshop, a two-day workshop. How you can create something engaging that confronts some of the latent bias, shall we say? Because it has to be the covert bias, because everyone likes to think of themselves as being unbiased.
Yeah, and then there's unintentional bias as well. And I have a lot of the framework. Like, I have something called the DBCs to make it, and one is defeating the supposed to syndrome, breaking down the Berlin Walls that exist today, and C's connecting the digital age. And it's just a matter. So I just have to put it in a workshop format, start doing it, and start putting stuff out there, and just put in the work.
And Udemy becomes a nice place for you to practice, because you have an opportunity to record something, see how it's received, get some feedback, and tweak it.
Okay.
So that's a couple of ideas for you. How am I doing? Right. Show me some love. I almost got up to you, Tayo. I passed you.
Yeah, I've been one of those people showing you the love. But no, I think this has been valuable. I don't know. I want to give someone an open seat, because that's you've basically helped me.
Terrific. I'm glad I could help. Anyone like to join me for a little while on this Blab, where I can answer some of your job search questions? Anyone interested? Fill a seat with me. Otherwise, I'm going to talk about some jobs I'm recruiting for. And unless you're in cybersecurity, by the way, Ross PR, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Anyone like to add something for Tayo here, just out of curiosity? I'm going to fill the dead air. I'll open the seat if you've got some advice for him. Anyone? Okay. Tayo, it's been great. Oh, forgot to start my. I use Google Voice, and I forgot to block it at the time. So my apologies, and we'll work on it later on. But in the meantime, anyone? No? Okay. Folks, I'm going to talk about a couple of the jobs I'm recruiting for. And if you're interested, I'll simply say, visit my website, thebiggamehunter.us. I've got a lot of info there that you can watch, listen to, or read to help you find work more quickly. As Tayo heard early on, I host a show called Job Search Radio on webtalkradio.net. It's also on iTunes and Stitcher. And it has advice for job hunters. It's a weekly show, and you're able to come online and listen to it. It's great. About 6,000 listeners per week, Nice little show. So again, that's Job Search Radio. You also have the opportunity. I've got 1,300 plus videos on YouTube as well. So come join me there, and hope to be able to help you in that regard. In the meantime, here's a couple of things I need for clients of mine. And one is a CTO search that I'm doing for a firm. It could be based on either Providence, Rhode Island, or Boston, Massachusetts, where they're looking for someone who has architected at a very high level consumer finance systems. It's paying over $200 on a base plus bonus. They'll pay for relocation. Nice situation. Also have a role for a lead security engineer in Kalamazoo, Michigan, the sun and fun capital of Michigan, where I've got a client that would like to bring on someone with a couple of years of experience, preferably a CISSP cert, but at least 2 years in IT with experience in security. It's paying to about $95,000 on a base plus bonus. And then one more job for today. This is in Bellevue, Washington. They will pay for a relocation. At least 6 years in information security, some discipline related to that, plus several years of network engineering or administration background. They want to bring on someone with engineering on an enterprise level for wireless networks, basically dealing with security issues for wireless. That's paying to about, I apologize, I believe it's to about 160 on a base, 170 on a base plus bonus, plus paid relocation, and they will do visa transfers as well. So I'll simply say, Tayo, you're welcome. Thank you. If you're qualified, interested, and available in any of these positions, email your resume to me at jeffaltman@thebiggamehunter.us. I prefer it in Word. Be happy to help you. And if we aren't connected on LinkedIn, send a connection request to me at linkedin.com/IM/the Big Game Hunter. I accept connection requests from people worldwide, except if you look like a spammer or scammer, except if you're a third-party recruiter. And finally, if you have a question about job hunting, you are not alone. Most people do, but they ask the wrong people for advice. Friends, family, people like that. Instead, reach out to me through prestoexperts.com, or I'm a job search and career coaching expert. Be happy to answer your questions. I'm Jeff Altman. Hope you have a great day.